We're nerfed. We're pretty nerfed, guys. My Paladin Smiter, my hardest farming class, had to go down about 100 corruption levels so I could maintain the level of comfort I had before. Some of these changes I did not expect. I'll explain really quickly what happened. So I have the same setup for Hammer Throw, same setup for Volatile Reversal. We take this for Harbinger of Dust. It hits twice, so enemy damage taken plus 60% when you use it for 4 seconds. Aura is exactly the same. I even found enough points to get more attack speed and cap crit multi, which is kind of okay. And I no longer use Sigils. I went with Rebuke. Why? Well, because Sigils had a very small but incredibly significant change, which is this no longer gives you flat armor. It just gives you endurance threshold. And that's anti synergistic with the fact that I use Ravenous Voids. If you increase your endurance threshold, it's easier to proc it. You lose the 15% damage reduction from the 3 stacks that it gives. It's a whole thing, and I just decided to try to use something else. So I went with Rebuke because I really needed some protection. Let me showcase exactly how bad the changes to Bastion are, because they're pretty bad. I do admit it's still an incredible item and it works, but they're forcing us a lot more to go into melee, simply because this is the range, right? So where you see my mouse cursor right here, that's the range. Anything outside of that, and I only have about 40% block chance. You might say, well, that's not a big significant change. It still has 100% defenses against bosses. Yes, you might be right. But when we get to 570 corruption, that suddenly becomes a problem. Just look at my life. Just look at my life. I have 9 stacks of poison on me. Oh, look, it procced already from 2 ascended Ember Mages of Rage. That's it. They managed to hit me while I was killing other mobs, and they procced my Ravenous Voids. There you go. Mimic Feast. And if you look here, enemies deal 38% increased damage. Deadly, if I have not been damaged recently, is something that is not going to be active that long because I have huge range with my hammers and my smites. So technically speaking, they will be damaged almost immediately. Resistance, health and damage, 388 rarity, 340% increased experience. Basically, the only real dangerous damage mod right now I have is like 38% damage, and they already are proccing my Ravenous Voids. This is a huge problem, which is why I scaled it back by 100 corruption. Don't ask me. It took me a long ass time to do that. And it's already kind of. I lost a lot of armor. Look at my armor now. It's 39%. I used to be able to reach 60. The changes to the base items already are hurting my build because I no longer get crit avoidance from base items on Sentinel. They removed that from the helmet. Suddenly, I have to make room for some ridiculous stuff. And the only increase I can find on this character right now is damage, which would help for bossing, but the survivability took such a huge hit. Even in tier 4, Julra has a definite chance of proccing my Ravenous Void, which is a very dangerous moment for characters that use Ravenous Voids. You don't really want that to happen. And yeah, it's just, bro, it's not the same at all. It's really, really kind of bad. And you'd say, all right, change Ravenous Voids. That's not okay. Go with Sigils. Yeah, but if you put all of the points, you're going to have 3 Sigils, and they're each going to give you 75 endurance threshold. I have 3,600 HP. Although it's going to be useful, it's not going to be as useful as 50% conditional DR. That part is not going to change anytime soon. So yeah, this is pretty bad. Yeah, Osprix, light mages are a problem. Ember mages were always a problem. People already commented that, oh, look, these things hit harder than bosses. And I'm like, yes, welcome to Last Epoch. You should have seen golems before they got nerfed. Like, if you sat in their, like, flamethrower, they would do so much dot damage that bypassed your armor, your dodge, that you'd be dead within like a second. My resists are kind of okay, right? Like I'm not missing any real important things here. All right, I'm taking this Bardiche because I think I can do some ignite shenanigans. So this is the first of my series of what got nerfed and how is life for a min-maxer, because it's not good. It's really not good. Um, I agree that you don't need 570 corruption. That part is pretty obvious, but it still feels really weird to be able to. I used to be able to do like double or triple damage mods at 600 plus. I managed to get this guy to 700. I think EHG is just trying to make you be also good at the game. It's true. Paladin did get a lot of just decent, very baseline quality of life. You get kind of a lot of armor for what you're doing. Sigils were an okay way. Armor is really good, so it used to be incredibly easy to get like ridiculous amounts. Remember, it's 70% as effective versus non physical damage hits. It does nothing for dot damage. So yeah, it's like now whenever I do any echo, even with only 38% damage increase on monsters, right? Like the one I have now, uh, you feel it. You absolutely feel it. No questions asked. This is pretty serious. The only way I can improve this character is to get the Lucky Rainbow's Edge and get some real decent armor shred there, but that's just going to increase damage. Survivability. All right, let me show you my gear if you feel like this is a rant about a min-maxing, bitching about stuff, which is fair. I just wanted to showcase that I have a lot of experience with the game. This is not exactly ideal. Ideally, I would probably have at least armor shred on one of the suffixes, which would increase my damage, I would say about roughly 10, 15%, something like that. Like -4 for throwing because you want your mana to go down, but not too quickly. The other ones are all T5s. Ravenous Void, really rare. Tier 7 Vitality on almost perfect boots. Basically, the only thing that would have been better is like Tier 5 Vitality and Tier like 6 or 7 Hybrid Health. Pretty decent belt, basically. Very hard to get better. You can get better by getting percent life, but this is as close as I got with also getting the ward. Like, there's very few ways I can get better stuff. I understand that this is only a tier 4 life, but come on, like I'm running out of juice here. This one, 5, 6, max health, max crit avoidance. Like, what else am I gonna do, right? Tier 5, so basically a devotion with really good stats. Block effectiveness Bastion, which again got a serious nerf. Mobs tend to become really quickly. If you give them cooldown reduction or stuff, you can really, really just get one shot by mobs that are way outside of the 4-meter range. Double throw speed. Like, what's going on? I'm using a sword and I have like 100% throw speed, which means I can pop out these hammers like nobody's business, but still damage right now feels kind of bad. And a Stormcarved Testament because this bitch is really hard to get LP on. Also, 40 health, block effectiveness, block effectiveness. Like, this is literally what I'm invested in. I have 62 block effectiveness. When I am literally close to a mob, I have 62 block effectiveness. My armor went down. I can't use sigils anymore. Defensive-wise, I'm capped on endurance. I'm capped on critical strike avoidance. Like, there's very little I can do for this character to even be good. I don't know what to say. I feel like with the dangers of making a comparison, and please understand that I mean this in the best of way, it really feels like a Path of Exile patch. In the end, you know, this is a buff. Really? Is it? The sigil change alone kind of was bad. Combined with my Bastion changes, this character can get one shot in tier 4 dungeons even before reaching the boss. Whilst before, I would be face tanking everything the bosses would throw at me. I understand there's been a nerf to the mountain fight, the first boss in Lightless Harbor, which is going to allow more characters to be able to do it, because before that he did massive physical damage. If you were not a character that could stack ward without needing to hit something, or if you were a character that relied on generating stuff defenseless layer through hits, bro, you were in really big trouble. You just literally couldn't do the dungeon. Um, Unless you played absolutely perfectly and nothing hit you. But I don't think that's realistic. I think characters should probably get a chance at doing stuff. Maybe make one mistake during the fight, sit in a pool of void damage a bit longer than they need to, or press volatile reversal and get teleported into some corner of the map, which is still, I believe, a bug because it's the mechanics of the fight. I'm pretty sure your character is magically teleported from an era to an era, and if you go back to Julra after she does her one shot and you press volatile, it just literally puts you in a void pool at the edge uh, of your character. This is pretty rough. Even damage-wise, the only thing I'm needing is armor shred, which is a big contributor, but it's not going to improve my damage by more than, I would say, 15% at tops. And you'll note that even with like 99% attack speed and some pretty decent gear, I mean, 50. I have my sword has like 100 crit multi by itself. Even with that, it's just not really that cool. Don't be too impressed with with this tier 4 because it's just the first level, bro. And you're gonna see some pretty nasty damage in the second floor where mobs get the second modifier. Yeah, it's I don't know what to say. I always build for comfort. I know that there are some gimmicks that you can probably do to like increase stuff, but I don't like gimmicky builds. I like builds that feel good to play. That's my literally my only, you know, requirement for a build. If I can make it do enough damage and survive, but the playstyle is loathsome and I would hate it, I just don't play it because I'm sorry. There are content creators like Perry that can do wonderful gimmicky builds when he feels like it, and there are content creators that tell you that things do enough damage when they obviously don't. I'm not going to name names for the second one because I respect all content creators for Path of Exile, even the ones I don't particularly agree with. But I got to 2.8k hours, and this patch nerfed all of my characters. That's why I'm making this series. Yeah, it's just not good. I mean, I knew we needed a nerf. That's pretty true. In fact, I'm going to say it's justified because nobody really needs to do 500 corruption. Nobody needs to do anything more than 300, let's say 350. At that point, it would be better for you to prioritize speed of farm than stacking difficulty. Because, in honest truth, if I have right now like 400 to 500 rarity. If I could just farm at 300 rarity but do it 30% faster, it's already a much better farming time in terms of investment, right? Plus, exalts have started to drop like candy, and I'm pretty sure that this is not going to stay. So just a little bit of advice. If they nerf it, please just take into account that I've never seen stuff drop like this. This is my first um, double exalt item that I can get to use after the patch, and it took me 2 hours to get. So it's pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's finally time for me to kill my Smiter and heavily invest in another build that I will min max, which is exactly what I was trying to do before the patch. It just had defenses that were too good. I know. It was too easy to get armor. It was too easy to get most things on this build. I know. I know. And I kind of agreed that we needed a nerf. I just feel like it left most of my characters in this weird position. You don't want to know how long it takes to go back from 700 corruption to 540. Don't want to know. enormous amounts of time of you just running through stuff, and hopefully you get like wait, enemy damage. No, I'm trying to stack the most amount of damage because I want you to see what the effects it had on my character. You can go back on my YouTube channel and you'll find videos of this character with slightly less gear, I would say, but at the same time, doing it slightly faster and much safer. I was literally just face tanking Julra. There was no need for me to do anything else but cast my hammers and do damage. That was it. So I don't know. It's doesn't feel that good anymore. The crafting changes also kind of, you crowded some slots. Belts were very crowded. You needed the cleanse affix, and you need to seal it. It's kind of complicated to be able to do everything like this. To be honest, I feel like the changes to crafting were very welcomed because we really desperately needed flat sources of thrown damage that would be adaptive and would change according to your skill. We kind of needed some CDR, especially for those builds that require a CDR skill. Cooldown reduction for things like there we go, 150 enemy damage. Cooldown reduction for stuff like Judgment. Cooldown reduction for stuff like Void Cleave. I never played them because they were clunky to play. I can't go into 550 corruption and just wait for 3 seconds to attack the next pack because by that time I'm going to be dead, right? You give any kind of modifier to these guys at 550, like Armor Shred, and if you're, counting on armor to save your life, you're done. Any kind of golem, any kind of ice elemental that throws like 50 projectiles is going to get your armor into negative at these values. Nobody needs to be farming this deep, but at the same time, I really invested in this character a lot of hours. I've been playing it for a long time, and to see it just neutered like this is not cool. I also play for comfort, which is why I have Shield Rush, and instead of Sigils, I took Rebuke. Hopefully, Rebuke is going to be enough to show you what I mean. Yeah, and I'm forced to use it now. There's no other way to do it. Yeah, it's just not good. See, and now the positioning for my Bastion is like, look at this shit. This is garbage. Thank God I have, Rebuke to live. Oh, right. I press Rebuke and now I can't press anything. Dude, this is... Yeah, that's the first bug. So I press Rebuke. After Rebuke, nothing worked. You could hear me slapping my keyboard. I even checked visually. Whatever. Their damage on her is absolutely garbage. It takes me over a minute to kill her even with amazing stats. This is a complaint just because I stacked so much damage on this character. Just doesn't work. And you saw the dangers. She hit me with her lightning reticle and it just decimated me. Everything just procced. I know I walked into a void beam at the end there, sure. But I mean, I have to take all of these concentric lightning circles because moving means I lose Bastion incredibly quickly. I don't know what to say, but Smiter isn't as good as it was anymore. I'm sorry, but I'm going to be making an entire series of videos on how stuff doesn't work, right? They got it ignite, they got it bleed. I'm going to be talking about it very soon. Right now, Smiter is no longer the king of the hill. If you want something that can push as hard as you can and invest hundreds of hours of playtime into it, Smiter might not be the way to go. Honestly. Do something else with your time. Hopefully I'll come up with something better, but until then, look what they did to my boy.